I blocked him once. Liu Ryan's hand trembled slightly. She stared at the screen with fierce intensity until Gu Qingyu returned. Ryan, you've waited a long time, he said. Shall we go see the aurora tomorrow? He wore a full set of casual clothes, relaxed under his guardian's gaze. He put away his phone with disinterest, showing no particular reaction. But he didn't feel like enjoying her tenderness either. I should return to the company tomorrow, I told her. I've been away for so long. A lot of work has piled up. I'll keep you company once I've handled it all, alright? As the CEO of the company, there were always critical decisions to make and important meetings to attend. Finding even a few days for this break was already difficult, and I had done it just to make it up to Liu Qingyu. During this time, my company had been suffering losses. The man furrowed his brows, clearly a little displeased. Alright, but I'm going with you, he said. I'll help you. Ryan smiled gently, and that filled my heart with warmth. I stopped thinking about my own troubles. Once I arrived at the company, a group of secretaries swarmed around me. Director Liu, you're finally here, one of them said. This is the company's profit and loss report for this period. These are the partners who plan to terminate their collaborations with us. All of these matters are extremely urgent, and here is the recent personnel turnover report. A batch of senior employees have submitted resignations. Liu Ryan frowned deeply, a long, troubled crease forming between his brows. He had only been away from the company for a short while. How had it fallen into such a state? He took the documents and felt a pounding headache reading them. Then he slammed them heavily to the floor. What the hell have you all been doing? He shouted. I was only gone for a few days, and there's been this much loss. Those partners. Couldn't you have waited for me to come back before letting them go? There was a loud bang as the folder hit the floor with force. None of the secretaries dared to speak. After a long silence, one of them finally spoke in a low voice. These tasks were usually handled by Secretary Gu. Director Liu instinctively wanted to call for me, only to remember I had resigned long ago. His face darkened even more, by several shades. I replied calmly, I was the one doing all that. Now that I'm gone, none of you can manage? No one dared say another word. For 4 years, I had worked with dedication. Everyone had seen it with their own eyes. The successor couldn't match my performance. A heavy silence filled the office. Liu Qingyu chuckled softly, trying to lighten the mood. Ryan, it's just a secretary who left, she said. I'll take over the role. I'm sure I'll do it even better than me. You should take a rest. I'll handle these matters for you. Liu Ryan smiled, relieved. Thank you for your trouble, he said. Qingyu, from now on, listen to her more. After saying that, Liu Ryan picked up the urgent documents and headed back to his office, leaving Liu Qingyu and the other secretaries behind. As soon as he was gone, Liu Qingyu's expression changed. He swept his gaze across the secretaries, then suddenly slapped one of them across the face. With a cold sneer, he said, You were standing that close to Director Liu just now. What were you trying to do? Seduce him? The words terrified the secretaries. They held their faces and hurried to explain. That's impossible. We were only doing our jobs properly. Don't accuse us without reason. Liu Qingyu couldn't stand hearing another word. He called the bodyguards to drag the secretaries away and forbade them from ever returning to the company. He changed into a professional outfit, a tailored white shirt that framed his broad shoulders and slim waist. He had deliberately left the collar open, revealing the love bites from a few days ago. I knocked on the office door. After hearing Liu Ryan's response, I walked in. Director Liu, I greeted him. He pulled Liu Ryan's hand and placed it beneath himself. But with so many company affairs to handle, Liu Ryan clearly wasn't in the mood for intimacy. He softly called out my name, his brows furrowed with a trace of sorrow. Qingyu, what are you trying to do? He asked. It's too busy right now. Let's work first, alright? But I ignored his refusal, bracing my hands on either side of his chair. A little later won't make a difference, I said. Director Liu spoke as. His large hand slid from my collarbone down to my abdomen. Liu Ryan's body went weak. A wave of tingling heat rose from the base of his spine. Unable to resist the temptation, he grabbed my collar and yanked me down, pulling me closer, and pressed a burning kiss onto my lips. It wasn't until noon that we finally stopped and caught our breath. My neck was covered in faint red marks. Liu Ryan's collar was disheveled beyond repair. He glanced at his watch. It was already this late, and the secretary still hadn't brought lunch. If it were me, I muttered, I would never have forgotten something like that. His face darkened with displeasure. He called the secretary. What's going on? He demanded. How could you even forget to bring lunch? Do none of you want to work anymore? Director Liu, we were all kicked out by young Master Liu, came the reply. We've thought it over, and we think it's time to call it quits. We don't have Secretary Gu's strength. We can't bear everything alone. The secretary's voice was filled with helplessness. Liu Ryan didn't react right away. He instinctively asked what had happened to Gu Nanzi. That same secretary sighed and sent over a folder. It's all in there. Director Liu ended the call without another word. Panic and doubt welled up inside Liu Ryan. He opened the file. Inside was a collection of evidence showing I had been framed by Lu Qingyu. From the day he returned until now, every accusation against me had been a false charge. The more Liu Ryan read, the more disturbed he became. All the feelings he had repressed could no longer be hidden. He never imagined Lu Qingyu could be like this, and that I had endured so much humiliation in silence. It felt like his heart had stopped beating. He stared at those videos for a long time. I lounged lazily in the chair, seeing Liu Ryan suddenly freeze like that. Ryan, what's wrong? I asked. Weren't you going to have someone bring lunch? I'm starving. Liu Ryan slowly turned his head, but his eyes no longer held the deep affection they once did for me. He seemed unable to believe what he was seeing. I called his name again, but his expression didn't change, which made me suddenly nervous. With a cold voice, he asked, why did you do this? I didn't understand, replying, what are you talking about? The next second, Ryan screamed like someone gone mad. I asked you, why did you do it? Why make the medicine harder to treat? Though I was startled by his tone, hearing my name, I still didn't understand. Isn't he just a secretary? I said. What's the big deal? Ryan, why are you so angry? Didn't you say yourself he was just a secretary? I said it with absolute confidence. But Liu Ryan deflated like a balloon. Yes, I was the one who let him go in the first place, he murmured. So why am I this angry now? I stepped closer, wanting to hold him. Don't be mad anymore, Ryan, I said. Let's go eat. But the sound of my voice only made Liu Ryan more irritated. His mind flooded with the reasons I had been wrong. He realized he had hurt me again and again. Instead of choosing to believe in me, he wondered how painful my heart must have been back then. The more he thought about it, the more I felt like I couldn't breathe. I didn't even have the patience to keep a calm face. I pushed Lu Qingyu away. If you want to eat, go eat by yourself, I said. I'm not in the mood right now. I didn't push him hard, but the man still stumbled back a few steps. His face was filled with disbelief. After all, the woman who had been indulging him in everything these past days had actually pushed him away for someone else. And that someone was me, a secretary who had already resigned. Lu Qingyu's temper exploded instantly. Liu Ryan, what are you trying to do? He yelled. You're actually defending that man, a secretary, and you treat me like this? Are you planning to break up with me next and go chase that secretary back? Lu Qingyu's words made Liu Ryan feel a deep pain. He didn't even know what he was doing anymore. Why did he feel so uncomfortable and miserable? Shouldn't he be happy that I left? There shouldn't have been anything between us in the first place. But now he could only clench his fists, trying desperately to suppress his emotions. "I'm just too tired," he said. "You go eat by yourself first." Lu Qingyu let out a cold snort and ignored him, then turned and walked away without looking back. Facing the untouched meal in the office, Liu Ryan felt like his head was about to split open. He didn't ask anyone to send food again. Instead, he buried himself in work, trying to forget everything that had happened. He worked nonstop from afternoon until night, finally wrapping up the company's matters for this period. It was almost laughable. Most of the problems had been caused by Lu Qingyu, yet he still had to clean up the mess for him, nearly sacrificing all of this year's company profits. He sat upright, leaning back into his chair, taking a deep breath. It was already dark outside. He checked his phone again. Not a single message. An empty feeling hollowed out his chest. A wave of exhaustion and loneliness washed over him. Now he was the only one left in the entire company. He couldn't help but speak aloud. "Gu Nanzi." This was the first time he called my name since I left. Those 3 words felt like a spell. Once spoken, he couldn't stop the flood of memories about me. No matter how late it used to get, I would always stay and work with him. Everything would be neatly arranged and handled. We would share tender moments in front of the office floor-to-ceiling windows. My face would flush with passion, my eyes looking up at him like a devoted puppy, unaware that such a look would only make him want to bully me more. More and more memories flooded his mind, and he could no longer control his emotions. He picked up the phone and dialed his brother's number. Seconds passed, but it felt longer than half a lifetime. Finally, he heard someone pick up on the other end. He couldn't wait and blurted out, "Yuan Feng, do you know where Gunanzi went?" His brother gave a mocking laugh. "You're so deeply in love with Lu Qingyu, and now you're looking for Gunanzi?" He felt his chest tighten, gripping the phone with difficulty. "I know everything now," he said. "All the things that happened before were orchestrated by Qingyu himself. I want to bring Qingyu and apologize to Gunanzi. He can come back. I won't let Qingyu make things hard for him anymore." But before he could finish, he was cut off by Liu Yuanfeng. "No need. That man no longer needs your sorry excuses, and you'll never find him for the rest of your life." With that, Liu Yuanfeng hung up the phone, as the busy tone echoed from the other end. A flood of regret and helplessness surged through his chest, and in his fury, he hurled the phone hard against the ground. Then I heard the sound of the office door being pushed open. He stood up abruptly, thinking it was the person I had been missing so much. He looked toward the door full of hope, but the one who walked in wasn't the person he longed for. It was Lu Qingyu. The man had clearly heard the name I had accidentally called out. He couldn't understand why it was always a secretary, always going against him. He looked at the disappointed Liu Ryan, unable to bear the stark contrast. "Why is it always Gunanzi, Ryan? Do you actually like him?" he questioned her. Liu Ryan didn't answer. After realizing the one who entered wasn't me, her heart had already drifted away. But seeing her like this only enraged Lu Qingyu further. He was completely consumed by anger and shouted hysterically, "He's just a secretary, a useless nobody. The moment I came back, I knew his intentions toward you weren't pure. It's a good thing that kind of man is gone. Ryan, didn't you say I was the only one you loved? What does this mean now? Did you fall in love with him?" Facing Lu Qingyu's relentless questioning, Liu Ryan's heart was in complete chaos. She remained utterly silent, but Lu Qingyu, used to a life of indulgence, only hated me more the colder she treated him. The more she ignored him, the more his hatred for me grew. He violently swept everything off the desk. "I heard everything just now. You asked where Gunanzi went. You still want to find him. You want to bring him back. You've fallen in love with him. Having reached the limit of her patience, she looked at Liu Qingyu with eyes that no longer held any affection. She could no longer understand why she had ever loved someone like him. So unreasonable, so spoiled and cruel. He had even driven me away. And thinking of that, Liu Ryan couldn't hold back any longer. Her eyes reddened as she recalled. Yes, I did fall in love with Gunanzi. So what? Do you even realize what you've done during this time? Do you really? Once she started, all her anger erupted uncontrollably. She stepped closer to him, one step at a time. You drove away all of my secretaries. You even deleted my work emails without permission, which caused several partners to want to terminate their contracts. In the company, I gave you access, and you used that power to bully the staff until they were all threatening to resign. Do you even know how much profit you've caused my company to lose these days? I was willing to let all of that go. But why did you have to drive Gunanzi away? You schemed against him again and again until he couldn't take it anymore and had to leave me. You were right. I do like Gunanzi. I fell in love with him. You've been gone for so long, and all these years, it was Gunanzi who stayed by my side. Liu Qingyu, what right do you have to speak about him? She roared, her eyes filled with darkness, frightening Liu Qingyu. He couldn't help but flinch, but still refused to admit defeat. He's just a secretary. What kind of person do you think he is? Before he could finish his sentence, Liu Ryan raised her hand and slapped him hard across the face. A crisp sound echoed through the office. Liu Qingyu was utterly stunned. He couldn't believe Liu Ryan had actually hit him. You actually hit me. Liu Qingyu was in utter disbelief. You were the one who kept saying you loved me, and now you hit me for the sake of a secretary. But his words meant nothing now, because after recognizing her true feelings, Liu Ryan looked at him with nothing but disgust. She grabbed the man's hand. Without hesitation, she slapped him again. A loud crack rang out. Liu Qingyu's head jerked to the side from the force. His eye immediately began to swell. The fury in her eyes burned with no sign of fading, every word colder than the last. Gunanzi had suffered far more injustice than this. So what if I hit you? I want you to apologize to him. Her gaze was frigid. Whatever softness she once had was now completely gone. Now she only felt disgust toward Liu Qingyu. She couldn't believe she had done so much for him, while he had hurt Gunanzi again and again. Her fingers curled tightly, her expression icy, enough to make Liu Qingyu tremble in fear. He had never seen Liu Ryan like this. He kept telling himself she had always treated him well, always giving into whatever he wanted. And all of it was because of me. Liu Qingyu's eyes burned with resentment, as if he wanted to cut me into 1,000 pieces. Liu Ryan clearly saw that look, and only hated herself more for realizing his true nature so late, for letting me endure so much pain for nothing. She let out a cold laugh, the sound enough to make anyone's blood run cold. It was time to return everything to Gunanzi. As she spoke, she grabbed Liu Qingyu and began to drag him toward the door. Her fury scared him out of his wits. He forgot all sense of dignity and struggled in panic. But no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't break free. She dragged him to the office entrance. Then a few bodyguards arrived to restrain him. Since you like making people kneel, then you can kneel here until tomorrow. She ordered the guards to keep watch over him, then turned and left without sparing his pleas a glance. Her heart was now filled entirely with me. Only after admitting she loved me did she realize how deeply wrong she had been. After spending for years together, she had long since become inseparable from me, but she just refused to admit it, until losing me made her finally understand regret. Inside the car, she slammed the steering wheel hard, then lost control completely, and started throwing out every decoration Liu Qingyu had left behind. None of it was anything I liked. She had to clear it all away, whether it was the trinkets or the seat cushions. Even the snacks he had bought on purpose. She threw them all out. But no matter how hard she looked, this car no longer held a single memory of me. We had shared so many wild moments in this car, yet not a single trace remained. At that moment, Liu Ryan felt like her heart was being torn apart. She couldn't take it anymore, and smashed her own car against the curb, trying to vent the fury buried deep inside her. Then she took another car and drove back to the villa. Even that place had been remade entirely to suit Lu Qingyu's taste. He had only been back for a month, and already overridden my 4 years of presence. Her eyes reddened as she stood inside the villa and felt like she couldn't breathe. All those glaring decorations were like blades cutting into her heart. She desperately searched for anything I had left behind, even just a fragment or a corner. But there was nothing. Her helplessness reached its breaking point, and she began to destroy everything inside, smashing it all to pieces. She didn't dare to rest, because the moment she closed her eyes, I would appear in her mind. She remembered that day, watching me pack, but not stopping me, watching helplessly as I took everything with me. She was in so much pain she wished she could go back in time. She sat in the villa crying all night, clinging to the last bit of warmth that still belonged to me. When the sun finally rose, her assistant arrived. "President Liu, it's time to head to the company. Young Master Liu is still waiting for you." He gave her a gentle reminder. Liu Ryan lifted her tear-streaked, reddened eyes. All that remained in her heart was hatred. If you weren't Lu Qingyu, how could I have ever left him? All of this was Lu Qingyu's fault. I drove to the company. When he finally spoke, his voice was so hoarse it was barely audible. By the time Liu Ryan arrived at the company, it was the peak of rush hour. Employees bustled in and out. Everyone's eyes were drawn toward a certain corner of the building. There, Lu Qingyu knelt with disheveled hair and a filthy appearance, pinned to the ground by bodyguards without a shred of dignity. He looked utterly miserable. He had been kneeling there the entire night. His body swayed on the verge of collapse, nearly fainting from exhaustion. The surrounding stares only deepened his overwhelming humiliation. Once basking in glory, Lu Qingyu now brimmed with nothing but resentment toward me. He shrieked hysterically, "Gu Nanzi, you filthy wretch! It's all your fault if not for you. How could Liu Ryan treat me like this? Why don't you just die? It'd be better if you were dead. You dared to seduce Liu Ryan. You're nothing but a shameless scum." His cursing stirred disgust among the onlookers. Several co-workers who got along well with me stepped forward to defend me. Lu Qingyu, furious and unhinged, started hurling insults at everyone. "You bunch of idiots! You must have taken his bribes to speak for him." Just then, Liu Ryan strode over quickly. The crowd instinctively parted to let her through. His eyes lit up for a moment, but she stared at Lu Qingyu, full of disappointment and disgust. Lu Qingyu looked like he'd seen a lifeline. He scrambled to her feet, clutched her legs, sobbing, "Ryan, you have to stand up for me. They're all bullying me. It's all Gu Nanzi's doing." Liu Ryan kicked him aside. Her voice ice-cold. "Lu Qingyu, do you still feel no remorse? I already know everything you've done. You smeared my name time and time again, even caused massive losses for the company. Did you think I'd keep tolerating you?" Lu Qingyu collapsed on the ground from her kick, his eyes wide in disbelief. "Ryan, how could you treat me like this? You're the one who loves me." But Liu Ryan looked down at him from above, without a trace of hesitation. "The one I love is Gu Nanzi. From beginning to end, he's the only one I've ever loved. It was only because I was foolish before that I let myself be blinded by you. But now I've seen my heart clearly. Leave, we're finished." His pupils dilated, brimming with disbelief. Then suddenly he laughed out loud. "You're telling me to leave? Liu Ryan, let me tell you this. It wasn't me who forced Gunanzi away. It was you. You think I don't know what you two did. You were with him for years, and never once made it public. The moment I came back, you clung to me like a leech. You're the one who truly drove him away. The moment those words left his mouth, everyone was stunned. Even the calm on Liu Ryan's face began to darken. Lu Qingyu, seeing no way out, embraced destruction and kept taunting her. Gunanzi is nothing but a fool. For years, and he still willingly played the role of your secret lover. Liu Ryan, you're the one who never trusted him. You saw him suffering and still chose me. You think I pushed him away? No, Liu Ryan, it was you who did that. Her face grew increasingly dark. Her fists clenched tighter. Looks like you still don't see the error of your ways. She ordered the bodyguards to restrain him again and drag him off without mercy. When we got back to the villa, she told the bodyguards to lock him in the basement. Liu Ryan made him repeat everything he once did to smear me. This time, the one suffering became him. He was forced to carry scalding bowls. His hands were burned red and covered in blisters, or punished by kneeling. And once he knelt, it was for the entire day. Even if he fainted, he had to keep kneeling once he woke. During this time, Liu Ryan didn't visit him even once. She had far more important things to do. Ever since she realized her true feelings, she swore to win me back. She knew that her only hope of finding me was through my younger brother. So Liu Ryan went to Liu Yunfeng's residence and knocked on the door. Yunfeng opened it, but the moment he saw it was his sister, the smile on his face froze into an expression of disgust. What are you doing here? Liu Ryan knew she was in the wrong. She brought gifts in both hands and forced a smile. Yunfeng, I know I was wrong before. I want to ask you for a favor. Do you know where Gunanzi is? I want to find him and apologize to him. Liu Yunfeng let out a cold laugh. Now you remember to look for him. Do you remember how you treated him before? For the sake of Lu Qingyu, you hurt Gunanzi again and again, and now you think you can make it right. It's too late, Ryan. I know I made a mistake. I want to make it up to him. Please tell me where Gunanzi went. I won't let Lu Qingyu hurt him again. From now on, I'll stay with him properly. Aren't you and Gunanzi close friends? If I'm with him from now on, you'll get to see him every day too. Yunfeng quickly cut her off. Even without you, Gunanzi and I would still be close as brothers, as long as he's doing well. It doesn't matter to me where he is. You hurt him so many times, and you still want to win him back. You're the one who told me before that Lu Qingyu was my brother-in-law. Liu Ryan stiffened and said nothing. Yunfeng, naturally outspoken by nature, felt a surge of anger the moment he thought of the wrongs I'd suffered. Seeing her silent, he became even more sarcastic. For Lu Qingyu's sake, you not only hit Gunanzi, you even hit me too. And now you say you were wrong. Don't you think it's far too late? Let me tell you this. Right now, Gunanzi is living well abroad. The moment she heard that, Liu Ryan swayed. She took a deep breath and lowered her head in front of her younger brother. Brother, I know I was wrong. I've already punished Lu Qingyu. If you don't believe me, I can take you to see it. Please tell me where Gunanzi is. I truly know I was wrong. Nanzi has loved me for 8 years. 8 whole years. He will definitely forgive me. The more she spoke, the faster her words came, as if something was chasing her from behind. Her eyes gradually turned red. But Yunfeng, hearing all this, only found it laughable beyond belief. It was the first time he ever thought his sister was ridiculous. Gunanzi has loved you for 8 years. And how did you treat him? You treated Gunanzi like a bed warmer, a tool, a pet that came when called and was cast aside when done. You're the one who drained every bit of love Gunanzi had. Now that he's gone, you finally realize you were wrong. Sister, I'm human too. I feel pain too. As she listened to her brother's words, Liu Ryan was overwhelmed by memories. Her voice was hoarse, her eyes rimmed red, and then she dropped to her knees. Yunfeng, please just let me see Nanzi once. Just once. If he truly doesn't forgive me, then I'll never disturb him again. From childhood to now, Liu Ryan had never begged anyone for anything before. This was the first time he actually knelt before his own younger brother. All for me, the one who had left him behind. Liu Yuanfeng never expected that his proud sister could go to such lengths. But he himself couldn't betray his good friend just for his sister. He clenched his jaw in frustration. I can ask for you. If Nanzi is willing to see you, I'll tell you his current address. Liu Ryan, who had already lost hope, suddenly lit up with anticipation in her eyes. She nodded eagerly without hesitation. Liu Yuanfeng sent me a message, but there was a time difference between here and abroad. He advised his sister to head home first, and said he'd inform her as soon as there was news. But Liu Ryan refused to leave no matter what. She stubbornly stayed at her brother's place, sleeping on the sofa, waking at the slightest sound, hoping it would be news about me. It wasn't until the following evening that Liu Yuanfeng finally received a reply. Alright, I'll meet with him. Just a few brief words. Yet they brought Liu Ryan a glimmer of hope. Nanzi was still willing to see him. That meant there was still a chance between us. Filled with excitement, Liu Ryan rushed to buy the earliest flight. Liu Yuanfeng grabbed her arm, frowning in disapproval. Sis, take a day to rest before you go. You haven't rested for days, have you? Since Lanzi agreed to see you, he definitely won't break that promise. Liu Ryan pulled her hand away. I can't wait any longer. Since Lanzi left me, I've been missing him day and night. Right now, I just want to see him. His gentle brows and eyes left Liu Yuanfeng completely puzzled. Watching the back of his sister rushing away, he couldn't help but sigh softly. If only you'd known this earlier. Why make the choice back then, sis? But Liu Ryan didn't hear those words. Her thoughts were entirely consumed by Gu Nanzi. Just thinking of seeing Gu Nanzi again filled her heart with a surge of excitement. Even after boarding the plane, she couldn't find peace to rest. Had Gu Nanzi been doing well abroad these days? Had he lost weight? Was he short on money? Living in a foreign land, he must have been uncomfortable. Whenever he thought of me, his heart softened, his mind filled with my image. From the time I was a shy, youthful boy, harboring what I thought was a well-hidden crush. But in his eyes, it was always clear as day. Yet he only had eyes for Lu Qingyun, and so he overlooked me entirely. Even after that wild, unexpected night, he never considered me. No one would have expected that I, always so cautious, would suddenly confess my feelings to him. He turned me down, but didn't reject this young and energetic body of mine. We made passionate love in countless places. I was always considerate, never like those other men who'd do anything for money. That was good and suited his heart well. It was also why he had always silently accepted me. If Lu Qingyu hadn't suddenly returned, he had even thought that continuing this kind of relationship with me wouldn't be so bad. When exactly did he fall in love with me? Was it when he saw how hard I worked, noticed how thoughtful I was, or felt the depth of my love? Liu Ryan couldn't quite say. These past 4 years had gone by too fast. Before he realized it, he had already been captured by my love, but he realized it far too late. And that was why I left. But now I won't leave again. He had already made up his mind. As long as I could forgive him, he would do anything I asked. He would no longer treat me as just a bed partner, but would openly declare the relationship between us. He would marry me and love me for the rest of his life. using his whole lifetime to make up for all the hurt I had suffered. Thinking about the life of returning to his side, Liu Ryan couldn't help but smile. A sense of happiness filled her chest, making her long deeply for the moment she would see me. After 8 hours, the plane finally landed. Liu Ryan hurried toward the address we had agreed on. I arranged to meet him at a cafe. He pushed open the door. The wind chime jingled softly. I sat in the corner and saw him at a glance. It had only been a month, but it felt like a year had passed. The waiting had been unbearable. Now that I finally saw him, a wave of unreality washed over me. Back when I was his secretary, I always wore professional attire. Even when I played little tricks in private, his impression of me was always serious. But now, dressed casually, with messy hair falling across my brow, I seemed to him like the me from the past, that boy who had once quietly loved him. He paused for a few seconds, then walked over and greeted me with a smile. Long time no see. He suppressed the urge to embrace me immediately and stared greedily at my face. Let's keep it short. I agreed to meet you, only to make things clear between us. I'm not in the mood to reminisce. I took a sip of coffee. Just as I was about to continue, he hurried to speak. I know what you mean. Everything before was my fault. I didn't realize my true feelings. And that's why I hurt you. Nancy, now I realize I love you. The only person I truly love is you. He poured out the words in one breath, his eyes sparkling, hoping for a response from me. But my expression didn't change. I only gave a faint, indifferent smile. Liu Ryan, it's too late. Whether it's your apology or your love, if you're done talking, then I'll be going. I don't think there's anything left for us to discuss. His face tensed, and he instinctively grabbed my hand, panic rising in his eyes. Nancy, please. We still have a future. I've already punished Lu Qingyu. As long as you come back, I'll give you everything. It's been for years. Just because of this 1 month. Do you really not love me anymore? I know you're just still angry inside. You can hit me, curse me, whatever you want. Nancy, I'm begging you to come back, okay? I shook off his hand. My tone was calm. Yes, because of this 1 month, I finally saw you clearly. I don't love you anymore. Liu Ryan will never go back again. I wish you and Lu Qingyu a lifetime of happiness. I said as I stood up to leave. He never expected such a reaction. In his heart, he believed I had loved him to my core. How could that love suddenly disappear? A wave of panic unlike anything before hit him. When he heard I was leaving, he comforted himself, thinking I still loved him. But now seeing me, hearing me say I didn't love him anymore, in that moment, it felt like a knife sliced through his heart. He gripped my hand tightly, unwilling to let go, his always proud figure trembling. He lowered himself, his voice breaking with a pitiful sob. Nancy, please don't treat me like this. I really know I was wrong. As long as you're willing to forgive me, we can go back and get married right away. I'll never let you stay nameless and titleless in the company again. If you want to keep being my secretary, you can. If not, then just stay at home. I'll earn money to support you. From now on, what's mine is yours. No matter who shows up again, I'll never hurt you. Nancy, I'm begging you to forgive me this once. We've been together for so long. You can't just leave me over one mistake. If it had been before, hearing those words would have made me so happy. After all, she was the woman I had loved for 8 years, and we were finally about to be together. But now, because of what she did, my heart had already died. That 8-year love no longer existed. Those memories only made me hate myself for being blind, for wasting so many years on Liu Ryan. I took a deep breath and firmly pried his hand away. Liu Ryan, I've made myself very clear. There's no future for us anymore. Isn't this exactly what you wanted from the start? I told you before that if the one you loved came back, I would leave on my own. When Liu Qingyu came back, I still hoped that maybe you developed feelings for me too, that you'd choose me instead of her. But the truth proved I was wrong. Looking at my expression, he had the sense that he was truly losing me. He kept shaking his head, and for the first time, he cried in front of someone, almost begging as he reached for me. Nancy, I was really wrong. Please give me a chance to make it up to you. Nancy. But I didn't. I turned around and left just like that, disappearing from his sight. He sat in that cafe in a daze and didn't leave until they closed. He had no idea what to do. His heart was full of pain, and the more it hurt, the clearer it became to him just how important I was to him. He had somehow let me slip through his fingers. If Liu Qingyu hadn't come back, if he had realized sooner that he loved me, if he hadn't disappointed me, 1,000 what-ifs flashed through my mind. But I knew there was no turning back for him. He wandered the foreign streets in confusion. A bolt of lightning split the sky, followed by a torrential downpour. People on the street ran for cover, but Liu Ryan had no idea where to go. He walked through the rain, murmuring my name, his whole body drenched. Suddenly, his phone rang. He picked it up with hope. It was a message from Liu Yuanfeng. "Come home," it said. As he stared at the words, his vision blurred. He wondered how things between us ended up like this. He knelt in the downpour, sobbing as though his soul were breaking. The sound of the rain drowned out everything, including the anguish in his heart. He dragged himself to an apartment building. The door was tightly shut. It was my place, the only place where he could feel even the slightest comfort. He didn't dare knock, just curled up outside the door. He hadn't slept for days. Soaked through by the rain, he somehow drifted into sleep. In his dream, I forgave him. He had returned to China, just like before. But in the dream, he didn't let me down. He announced our relationship immediately, even proposed to me. I pulled him into my arms through tears, saying I'd waited so long for this day. Liu Ryan smiled faintly, as if he had finally caught happiness. Then he collapsed in the pouring rain. When he opened his eyes again, his head throbbed with a splitting pain, and his body could barely move. He struggled to open his eyes, and saw an unfamiliar ceiling above him. He tried to sit up in shock, but a gentle voice stopped him. "Don't move." Hearing that voice, it was as if all else faded into nothingness. I couldn't care about anything else and sat up abruptly. I pulled her tightly into my arms by the bedside, as if I had finally found something I thought I had lost forever. "Nancy, have you forgiven me?" "I know I was wrong. I will spend my entire life making it up to you. Please believe me. I truly know I was wrong. I can't live without you." He spoke while crying. Regret flooded his heart like crashing waves. Liu Ryan paused. "I only did this for Yuanfeng. If you had died at my doorstep, Yuanfeng would have been devastated." I furrowed my brows and pulled away from that embrace. Only then did Liu Ryan look carefully at my face. There was not a trace of emotion in my eyes, only cold disdain. That expression pierced his heart like a blade. His face turned pale, his hands froze midair, and he stared blankly at me, as if he were looking at the one he loved most but could never have. Grief overtook his entire being. He called out my name in a hoarse voice, but I said nothing. My gaze remained indifferent. "I've already called Yuanfeng. He'll come to take you. Don't come looking for me anymore. I'm doing just fine here without you. Let the past stay in the past. The moment you chose Liu Qingyu, we were over." Her voice grew more painful with each word. He looked deeply at me standing before him. So close, yet so impossibly far. A distance he could never bridge again. We truly have no more chances. He looked at me with one last sliver of hope, I finally looked him in the eye and answered one word at a time. Yes, there are no more chances for us. It was like 1,000 arrows pierced his heart. Liu Ryan's pain nearly crushed him. He reached out, wanting to touch my face one last time. But even that small wish, I cruelly denied by stepping away. Liu Ryan's eyes welled up with anguish, and tears fell. It wasn't long before Liu Yuanfeng arrived. He rushed over the moment he got my call. My expression softened as I looked at him. Yuanfeng, you're here. We sat down and exchanged a few words. And when it was time to part, Liu Yuanfeng couldn't help his guilt. I'm sorry, Nancy. I couldn't stop her. My sister came looking for you on her own and caused you all this trouble. I patted him on the shoulder. It's all right even if you hadn't said anything. Liu Ryan would have found her own way here. It's better to rip the bandage off than to prolong the pain. It's good we finally said everything clearly. Even so, Liu Yuanfeng still felt deeply apologetic. He turned to glance at the distant Liu Ryan, then looked back at me with restraint. He couldn't help but ask Nancy, if Lu Qingyu had never shown up, would you have stayed with my sister? That was a question Liu Ryan also desperately wanted answered. I thought about it for a moment. I had once asked myself that same question, but after everything I had gone through that month, I now understood. Even if it hadn't been Lu Qingyu, there would have been someone else. Because Liu Ryan's love for me was only the kind that realizes regret after losing something. I smiled with quiet acceptance. There was no need to explain. Maybe they all already knew the answer. Liu Yuanfeng returned to China with a broken Liu Ryan. The Liu family business had suffered heavy losses during this period, and Liu Ryan no longer had the heart to manage the company. She had completely lost her will. We had no choice but to temporarily leave everything to Liu Yuanfeng. The poor guy had just returned to the country and already had to brace himself to clean up the mess his sister left behind. He had no time to settle in before facing the storm. Fortunately, he had studied economics and management while abroad, so he wasn't completely lost in the dark. But just as Liu Yuanfeng prepared to take over the company, he still kindly gave him a stack of photos. While you were overseas, I found out a few things too. Take a look. When Liu Ryan opened them, they were all about Lu Qingyu. Liu Yuanfeng had discovered that during those years abroad, he had never taken his studies seriously. He spent his days chasing women and partying, and had ambiguous ties with several wealthy foreign women. There were even multiple women who had abortions because of him. He was no longer anything like the man Liu Ryan once remembered. But then again, what was he even like back then? Liu Ryan stared blankly, realizing she could no longer recall his face from those early days. 10 years apart and then reunited, that first love, that tender emotion, had long since been worn away by time. Now whenever he closed his eyes, only my face would appear in his mind. Whether smiling or in love, it stirred his heart vividly and painfully. But after another 10 years pass, could he really forget me the way he forgot Lu Qingyu? A sense of hesitation and sorrow rose within him. But the one who caused all of this was no one but himself. He had known full well what Lu Qingyu had done. But because of that vague attachment, he kept claiming it was love. And for someone like that, he actually pushed me away from his side. Even when he looked again at those photos, his heart didn't stir in the slightest, as if it had died along with everything else. Thank you, Yuanfeng. I won't let you worry for long. He apologized in a hoarse voice, then suddenly remembered something, and smiled faintly at his younger brother. I nearly forgot I still owe you something, he said as he raised his hand and slapped himself hard across the face. The sound echoed sharply, and his face immediately swelled up, startling Liu Yuanfeng. Sis, what are you doing? Liu Ryan swallowed the lump in her throat. I hit you before. I'm sorry, this is to make up for that. Liu Yuanfeng frowned again, not knowing what to say. His hand lifted and dropped several times, before he finally exhaled a deep sigh. Forget it, just don't mess things up again from now on. Who knows, maybe another man will show up one day. And when that happens, you can't let him slip away. He smiled and waved it off as fate. Liu Ryan said nothing. She just watched her brother leave. She didn't want to ruin his mood, because deep down, they both knew there would never be another me. The sour sting of emotion rose in her chest, but she quietly swallowed it down. Liu Ryan picked up the photos and walked toward the basement. During that time, Lu Qingyu had suffered miserably. He couldn't eat or sleep. Everything he had once done to me was now being returned to him 1,000-fold. It all came back to him, every last bit. He trembled in the basement, and when the door opened, light spilled in. He didn't even realize what was happening at first, until Liu Ryan stepped inside. Only then did he awaken as if from a dream. Like a drowning man clutching at the last straw, he crawled over and clung to her leg. Ryan, I was wrong. Please forgive me. I won't bother you and Gudon anymore. I'll stay far away from now on. And I swear I'll never love you again, not even in 10,000 years. Please let me go. I really know I was wrong. The man begged for mercy, while crying so hard he could barely speak. He looked utterly pitiful. Liu Ryan said nothing. She studied that face carefully. All its youth and beauty had faded, leaving only endless greed and desire. Why had he ever lost the most important person in his life for someone like him? That thought alone sparked anger in Liu Ryan again. She wished she could tear Lu Qingyu apart piece by piece. But Yuanfeng and I hadn't been wrong. At its core, it was his own moment of blindness that caused it all. Everything Lu Qingyu did only made use of what was already there. He took a deep breath to calm himself and tossed the photos down. When Lu Qingyu saw what was inside, his pupils shrank in shock. Those were the very parts of his past he most wanted to bury. He had come back to the country only because he had failed abroad, but he never expected that truth to be dug up again. He panicked, completely at a loss. No, 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 no. That's not me. You have to believe me. None of that is me. It's all garbage. Someone's trying to frame me. It's that bastard. He doesn't want you to forgive me. So he brought this out to make you angry. He clutched his head and babbled like a madman, as if he'd completely lost his mind. I wasn't like that abroad. I went to a top-tier university. I had a good job and a girlfriend who loved me. None of that ever happened. This is all fake. This isn't supposed to be my life. He sobbed harder as he spoke. At first, when he went overseas, he really did live freely and recklessly. With his good looks, he had several ambiguous lovers. They were all willing to spend money on him. Even when he made mistakes, someone would always defend him. But somewhere along the way, everyone around me started to disappear. I never got my diploma, so I had to buy a fake degree from a third-rate school. I hit dead ends in every job search. I couldn't even support myself, so I had no choice but to sell my body. My reputation spread quickly across the country, and I lost any place to stand. So I had to come back. At first, I was relieved to know Liu Ryan was still waiting for me at home. But now I finally understand everything comes with a price. Lu Qingyu knelt there, sobbing helplessly. He kept apologizing and banging his head on the ground. But Liu Ryan's expression remained cold. She just looked at him until Lu Qingyu was completely out of strength. Then she finally spoke. You should go. That unexpected response made Lu Qingyu's eyes widen in disbelief. What did you say, Ryan? What did you just say? Liu Ryan repeated it again. Go, Lu Qingyu, from this moment on. There's nothing between us. I once loved you, but that love has faded with time. Now someone else is in my heart. When he heard that, Liu Qingyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He didn't even know where he could go. Liu Ryan left. She didn't look back. The door was left open. There were no more bodyguards to torment him. But somehow, the unknown future now felt more terrifying than the present. It took a long time before Liu Qingyu slowly stood up and stumbled out, leaving the Liu estate behind. No one knew where he went, and no one cared. Once Liu Ryan had rested, she took over the company again. Liu Yuanfeng let out a sigh of relief. He had never wanted to manage the family business. He had always had his own dreams and plans. A year later, Liu Yuanfeng received a text message from me. I told him that my best friend was getting married, and I invited him to be the groomsman. Liu Yuanfeng was overjoyed. He dropped everything in his hands and immediately bought a ticket, ready to fly over. Liu Ryan heard the news from her younger brother. Her hand paused for a moment, then her eyes drooped down. She asked casually, pretending not to care, "Getting married this soon, huh?" Over the past year, he had often learned about me through his brother. He knew I had a girlfriend I loved deeply. But now I was actually getting married. Liu Ryan felt her vision blur. She could no longer see the words on the paper clearly. She heard my gentle voice from Liu Yuanfeng's phone speaker. "Yes, it's about time to get married," I said. "It's hard enough to meet someone right. I don't want to wait any longer." While talking on the phone, Liu Yuanfeng packed his things. "That's true, but are you planning to settle abroad permanently?" he asked. "Not coming back at all? You're still making me run around like this. You heartless guy, don't even think to come visit me." He cursed with a laugh and quickly finished packing his suitcase. He waved at Liu Ryan as he left, saying, "I'm off." "Sis." Liu Ryan said nothing. Only after Liu Yuanfeng had walked far away and his figure disappeared, and my voice on the phone could no longer be heard, did she slowly lower the hand holding the document, resting her palm on her forehead. Her tears fell. Her heart ached unbearably. "So this is what it feels like to watch the man you love deeply marry someone else." She trembled, unable to stop the painful tears. Pain surged silently within her. Another year passed. Liu Yuanfeng got married too. I returned to the country, and as promised, served as his groomsman. Liu Ryan hadn't seen me in a long time. She tried to control her emotions, but her gaze couldn't help lingering on me. Afraid to disturb this dream, after the wedding ended, Liu Ryan accompanied her brother to toast the guests. When it was my turn, Liu Yuanfeng smiled and joked, "Long time no see." Liu Ryan nodded calmly. "Long time no see." With difficulty, she reached out and gently clinked her glass with mine. The crisp sound echoed in her excited heart. She had so many things she wanted to say. How much I had changed. How was I doing? Was I happy? But all of those impulses stopped the moment a woman walked up. Because she was my wife. Liu Ryan handed a glass of wine to my wife. "Sorry," she said. "She's pregnant. She can't drink alcohol, so I'll drink in her place." I couldn't help but smile. Liu Yuanfeng was astonished. "You already have a baby on the way? Nancy, why didn't you tell me? Do you not treat me like a brother anymore?" I quickly explained. "It's only been a month. I wanted to wait until it was more stable before telling you. It's still too early now." Liu Yuanfeng immediately claimed the title of godfather. My wife's eyes were full of tenderness, and I was surrounded by a helpless kind of happiness. The four of us stood together. Only Liu Ryan felt like an outsider. So this is what it means when the best ending is becoming strangers. Liu Ryan stared blankly at my happy face, watching how easily I leaned into my wife. Her heart suddenly throbbed in pain. She raised her glass and murmured softly to me, "Congratulations, you finally found your happiness." Then she downed the drink in one gulp. For the first time, she realized. So this is how bitter it really tastes. She quietly walked away. no longer disturbing us. A breeze passed by. I looked up and only then noticed that the spot from earlier was already empty. I felt a moment of daze, then shook my head, because now everyone most important to me was right by my side.